The rookie season has officially arrived, so let's go through some of the best rookies that you need to learn right now for our Superflex Dynasty drafts that are going to be just around the corner. I've got all sorts of names that I've been going through, watching tape, going through analytics with Coach and the other guys here at the Face Off Sports Network. But for right now, I'm going to dive into some of the first names that I expect to be off the board in our upcoming rookie drafts. If you want, go check out my latest mock where I did just the first round of a Superflex, went through my top 12 picks as it stands right now. Stay tuned. We've got the second round and third round coming out here soon. All sorts of stuff here on the Face Off Sports Network. And if you haven't already, there is absolutely no better time to go and join our free Discord. There's going to be all sorts of content coming out. You can also check out the Patreon. Links will be in the description where you can get access to Dynasty rankings, all sorts of rookie stuff as it comes out. But let's get straight to some of these top rookies. And let's start with none other than what I expect to be the chalk 101, and that's going to be Jeremiyah Love. He was the one-on-one in my last Superflex mock draft that I just recorded a couple days ago, and it's for good reason. He is the best player in this draft as far as it goes for fantasy purposes. He's an absolute do-it-all running back. He shows some, what I believe in my mind, Christian McCaffrey level receiving game. I'm not saying he's as good as McCaffrey, but when it comes to him coming out of the backfield, he is great hands, very strong route running. They put him out wide all the time, and whatever NFL team gets him, he's going to be able to do that and more. He's good enough with the ball in his hands. He can make plays happen. He's got great speed, great burst, great athleticism. So he's going to be an impactful rookie as we get forward into our rookie drafts upcoming, but don't expect him to fall past that 101. He will have some times where he falls to the 102. If you're in a league where there's a needy team that needs a quarterback at that 101 spot, it happened last year. I got Genty twice at the 102, so there is a chance that I think Love will fall to the 102 in some drafts. Although if it were me, that's not what I would do. So certainly keep that in mind. But going to throw some plays up here for these players as we go through. I mean, this was one of my favorite cuts that I saw from Jeremiyah Love. Here he is against Texas A&M, and just watch what he does on the inside here. Just makes this guy fall. I mean, it is fantastic stuff that he can do with the ball in his hands. I think he's slippery enough to get it done. When you watch what he can do, like I said, coming out of the backfield, he's going to be really, really good. He's great on outside zones. He can read the blocks. He can really develop and let lanes get open for him. I think that's going to be a big part of his game as we move forward into the NFL. Now, my one thing that I would say about him is at times I think he goes for that hurdle just a little bit too much. And I'm not going to say that he relies on it, but there were plenty of times where I thought in the back of my mind, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And he would try. I mean, every single game. I think I charted in Indiana when he played in 2024. When he played Texas A&M this past season, there was like 4 or 5 hurdle attempts that he had in just those 2 games. And, you know, at times it will work. He's got some crazy plays where he made some awesome hurdles in his college career. But at the same time, the NFL level, that's a difficult play. It's a turnover risk play. There's some injuries that could come with that too. So I think that's something that he needs to shell away from a little bit. But at the end of the day, he's a great player. He's got good contact balance. He's going to be just fine as he moves forward. A lot of people are going to ask, well, what's the comp for Jeremiyah Love? And, you know, how does he slot in once we get to our dynasty rankings? To me, it's one of those things where I think he's kind of a fuse between a couple different players. He reminds me a lot of, you know, the big play athleticism of a Kenneth Walker, but the fluidness and the ability to come out of the backfield just naturally reminds me of a Alvin Kamara CMC level player. I think he's kind of a hybrid between those guys. Like I said, he's one of these players where you just get the ball in his hands and you watch things happen. I think at times he might just be a little bit of a barbarian where he just runs in there and gets hit by everything, and he'll run through a bunch of arm tackles. But, you know, he's got to be able to stay in those lanes, but he does a really good job of that. And when we're talking about a guy who's at the 101, really we're just getting nitpicky. There's not really any flaws in his actual game. So I hate to sit here and pick on him because I think he's a complete running back. He's going to be just fine. His draft capital is going to be early first round, likely in the NFL drafts, which, again, is just going to cement him at being the 101. A lot of people think the Saints. Some people think the Chiefs, you know, maybe Washington. There's all sorts of teams that could use a player like him. So I expect him to be a hot commodity both in the NFL draft and in fantasy. As far as it goes for fantasy ranks, I kind of expect him to slot in at that maybe RB8 territory for me. I've been starting to build my rankings, And I feel like he's at that top tier. I'm not ready to throw him in the elite tier with some of those guys that are up there, but he's going to be just on the outside looking in. So lots of things to expect from Jeremiyah Love as we move forward. Moving right along, let's talk about my wide receiver one of this class. There's three at the top, and really you can put them in whatever order you like. My personal preference in my wide receiver one right now is Makai Lemon. Now, I started with him, and I was really, really impressed with the tape. It's really strong, coming out of USC, a little bit under 6 foot, just under 200 pounds. The guy is just a flat ball player, and when you get the ball in his hands, something just happens, man. And a lot of people are going to comp him to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, there's the USC connection. They're both big slot guys that can kind of, I shouldn't say big, so sorry. They're both slot guys that can make things happen, create space, and then have some ability to have yards after the catch. I do think he's similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I also found his shiftiness and his slipperiness to be a lot like Ladd McConkey, who we saw come out, just a couple years ago. And really, when we watch what he does on the tape, you just see the pure slipperiness of him coming in and out of breaks, coming in and out of routes. He just finds a way to get away from defenders and create some separation. So I want to throw up one of my favorite plays that I've got here. There's not anything really too special about what happens. It's just really the consistency in his game. You see this pop up really quite often every single time he runs a route. He's athletic enough to make things happen. I think that's going to be the biggest knock on him is he's not an elite level athlete, but he does just enough. You see him down here in the slot against Notre Dame, really just quick slant, just creates that initial space, and then boom, that's when he gets to get creative and get those yards after the catch. Again, it's not anything that's too special. It's just he gets that and immediately turns upfield, is able to split two defenders there, and then fights through that tackle to get some extra yards, staying on his feet. You love to see that from a wide receiver, especially a guy that's going to be in the slot like this. He's going to be an early first-round draft pick. When we pull up and see what he did at USC, I mean, this past season had over 100 targets, just under 80 catches for 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns, averaged over 90 yards per game. So that's really, really great. You love to see that. The yards per route run is not that bad either. I mean, it's at 3.1, so we want to see above that 2.5, 3 threshold there. So I think Makai Lemon has a real chance to kind of be a player that does something once we get to the NFL. I'm curious to see how high he'll be drafted. A lot of people in the NFL mock drafts kind of have him going as the third wide receiver off the board. But again, this is kind of a pick your poison draft at the wide receiver position. And let me pull up another play here just to show you guys kind of what he can do and how he can kind of fight through. Let's get this here going. This is against Iowa. So we see him again. He's down here in the slot, just comes across the middle right here. Bang, he's open. Tough catch, extends his arms, gets his hands out there, gets his hands on the ball, and is able to fight through contact, fight through getting to the ground to hold on to it. Another rep that I just love. And again, you see this stuff pop up over and over and over on his tape. Again, he's a big-time playmaker. He's got all sorts of things that he can do once he gets that ball in his hands, and he's going to find a way to make plays in the NFL. I'm excited to see where he gets drafted. I expect him to be a top 15 pick. Wherever he goes, he's going to find himself in a good home. That's a rookie that you need to be watching. You need to know right now. Again, he's my wide receiver one that's subject to change because we'll talk about another name in just here in a second. Now, moving right along, let's get to my RB2 of this class and probably the player I've had the most fun watching thus far, and that's going to be Emmett Johnson, the running back from Nebraska. Apparently, I'm a lot higher than most people with having him at my RB2. In my mock draft I did here recently, I think I had him slotted at the 105 or 106. Caught a lot of flack for that. People are not real happy with where I had that going. But for me, if he gets the draft capital that I think he could get, it's going to really impact kind of how we view him going into the fantasy process. If he's a day 2 pick, which I think is very likely, I think his stock is going to shoot straight up. Whatever team drafts him is getting a big-time playmaker. I mean, watching his tape, I think his one knack is he does not necessarily have the big explosiveness to hit the home run every single play. But other than that, his game is almost flawless. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run through contact. He was high up there in the FBS. He had the 4th most yards in the FBS, so he can handle the rock. He was a 3-down back. Looking at what he did at Nebraska this past year in 12 games, 1,400 yards. Had 121 yards per game. He was an absolute monster. 12 touchdowns on the ground. We look at what he can do out of the backfield. Like I mentioned, 46 catches in college on 54 targets. The year before that, he had 39 catches on 41 targets. This guy is comfortable coming out of the backfield. His pass pro could use a little work. A lot of people mentioned that was kind of something they're scared of with him. He has the play where he kind of gets blown up by the Mike linebacker when he blitzes. I don't really care, because what I want to see is him coming out of the backfield, catching the ball, and getting the ball in his hands, because this is a guy that's going to make a ton of moves. So let's look at a couple plays here. We got one here against UCLA. Watch what he does once he gets the ball in his hands. I mean, he just makes something happen. You can see his shiftiness coming in and out of breaks, jump cuts. I mean, catching the ball here out of the backfield. Again, looking comfortable with the ball in his hands, looking for lanes. Again, look at that break right there. This guy is an absolute monster. I can't say enough. His tape jumped off the screen for me. Everything I saw, I absolutely loved. I mean, going back, I want to look at the screen again right here. Watch how he just makes this little cut on the sideline. Again, following his blockers, look at the lane, bang, right there. Just makes the dude miss. And again, he doesn't have that home run speed, but in my opinion, I think he has just enough what you need to get done. And really, when I step back and look at what he can do for a team, whatever team gets him, I think they're going to be really, really happy. He's a big-time playmaker with the ball in his hands. And like I said, the tape, it speaks for itself. Looking at his game against Iowa, he had 217 yards. Another game that I watched that I really, really liked, which was the first game I actually watched of him, was when he played at Maryland. Now, Maryland certainly does not inspire fear or anything like that when you look at their defense, but watch this play right here. This is the one where I sent it to coach immediately. I stopped what I was doing. I said, look at this kid play. Like, this guy can absolutely play. Coming on the outside here, he gets around the edge, creates a space, missed tackle, jumps over his own guy, and then gets hawked from behind. Like I said, the breakaway speed, you could probably want a little bit more, but this angle is what did it for me. I mean, just finds a way. You could talk about whether that's a hold on the outside. I don't care. I want to see my running back make something happen when he gets the chance. And Emmett Johnson does it repeatedly. I mean, he is comfortable, really can secure a role. Again, he runs so hard. To me, sometimes I feel like his hair is on fire the way he's running. I think he's got that spark. He's got the elusiveness. He can break those tackles. Whatever team gets him, again, is getting an absolute ball player. And I don't care if right now I'm the only one that thinks that he should be drafted this high. I will be taking him if he gets the capital. You can have Coleman, you can have Price, you can have those other guys. In my opinion, I think Emmett Johnson is currently the RB2 of this class. We'll see what the NFL tells us. Now, certainly if he falls to day 3, moves to a 5th-round pick, we're going to have to adjust our rankings. But I'll tell you this much, I will draft him in the 3rd repeatedly. So be ready for that if you're in a league with me. Emmett Johnson is a name to remember. Now let's talk about my wide receiver 2 of this class, and that's going to be Carnell Tate. Looking at what he can do, he is a big play field stretcher. He is a true X. When you watch him and see what he can do, one of the best, probably the best deep ball tracker in this entire class. The guy is a monster, 6'3". When you see that frame, you see the body, you can really tell that he uses it to his advantage. I wish he would use his size a little bit more to box people out, but most of the time when he's setting up for a route, he's looking to burn you, and he does it quite frequently. So I like Tate's game. It's a lot like T. Higgins. I'm not sure he's as physical as T. Higgins or as imposing as him, but when he gets downfield, he has that ability to jump up and go get the ball. He's got incredible hands. He can extend his body to make plays, make those spectacular catches. And, you know, when we look at what he can do going down the seam, running those dig routes, he's going to be really good at the next level. I mean, he is a true down the field route runner and field stretcher. I think that he's got the burst, and he has the ability to break away from people, especially down the field in press or at man-to-man. At times he can get caught up a little bit in that, but he relies a lot on his speed and his ability to shake you, wiggle off of you, and it works a lot to his credit. I think his game should transition well to the NFL. I'm not sure he's going to be a superstar, but I think he's going to be a star. He's got that real chance, like I said, to be a T. Higgins, maybe be a 1B for a team, but I do think he's going to get early draft capital, so he's probably going to get drafted pretty high. But looking at another one of my favorite plays here, we got just watch what he does downfield. Just you can see immediately when he puts his foot in the ground, he is looking to run, sticks his hand out to grab that ball that's just a little bit overthrown. If you look at what he did against Penn State, he had an absolute field day. I circled, I just put in my notes kind of what I see from the player, and I think I circled the word tracking and ball tracking 30 times in my notes. I mean, he just absolutely was all over the place, just tracking down the ball in his tape. You just throw it up there and give your guy a chance. So whatever team gets him, they're going to have the ability to really expand their offense down the field and give that deep ball threat. So I like Carnell Tate. His tape is really fun, man. He gets better, kind of coming onto the scene here more recently than not. I mean, when we look at his stats, in 2024, we have to remember Ohio State is a loaded wide receiver unit for the last several years. So their numbers are not necessarily going to be the same as some of these other guys who might be the only option at their school. In 2024, Carnell Tate had 52 catches for 733 yards, only 4 touchdowns. This year had 51 catches on 66 targets with 875 yards. So similar production, but he had 9 touchdowns this year. So you'd like to see a little bit more out of him. But when we look at a little bit more into the statistics and see what he can do, he's got a solid yard per route run, a 3.0 this season. It's a little bit lower in the previous years, but again, I don't put much stock in that just because of who came out of Ohio State. So he's not going to have that real analytical profile as a career. I think he's got enough to really expand his game. I mean, average depth of targets over 14. He could absolutely be a guy that does that in the NFL, where he's just constantly running those deep routes to really stretch the field and give the chance of an offense to just kind of give him a shot a couple times a game, and he'll bring it down a lot of times. I mean, he really will. He's a big-time playmaker. Like I said, it's T. Higgins. I think he's a more refined route runner than DK Metcalf. A lot of times when we go back and think about what DK did and what he's done thus far in the NFL, he's really good at just letting him burn down that seam and just create space and use his body. I think Carnell Tate does that, not quite again as physically imposing, but he's a more refined route runner in my mind. And ironically, I can't help but get Terry McLaurin out of my mind too, the way he just kind of burns past these corners and just finds a way to make these over-the-shoulder catches, jumping up and catching the ball. Like, just you give him a shot and somehow he finds a way to turn those 50-50 balls into, 75-25 in his favor. So I like Carnell Tate's game. He's going to be a guy that I target in that early first round if I've got to pick at the 103, 104, 105, possibly if you can get him there. Because there are going to be a lot of people that like Tyson too. Tyson is sometimes people's wide receiver 1 this class. I was not as big a fan. I think he's going to be a solid player. He's got the potential. There's lots of things to like there. But in my opinion, I think Carnell Tate has the higher ceiling, probably a similar floor. And then Lemon, as we talked about before, I think he's got a high ceiling and a much higher floor. He's probably the most pro-ready out of all these wide receivers, in my opinion. But Carnell Tate, man, I think he's going to have the opportunity to do something big. He's only 21 years old, so there's room for him to grow into this frame and continue to get better at his game. Moving right along, I want to talk about possibly the QB2 of this draft. We all know Mendoza is going to be the QB1. Likely the Raiders' next quarterback, and there's a lot you can talk about. We did a whole separate video on him, so I want to highlight some of these QB2s. In my mock draft, I talked about how around the 109, that's when you're going to see teams start reaching for that second quarterback in the draft. It could be even earlier than that once we get the actual landing spots in the Capitol. If the Jets take someone at 16, that's going to launch their value up, and it's going to give more opportunity for one of these guys to go. I mean, we're looking at Ty Simpson, quarterback from Alabama. Sham Bliss had his appeal denied today, so we'll see what happens with him. I'm told there's one more court hearing that we're expecting to happen on the 12th of February. We'll watch that closely, see what happens there. I wish he would have participated in the Senior Bowl, because I think the name that is on the rise right now, and justifiably so, would be Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback from LSU. Coming into this season, a lot of people have him as the 101 of the quarterbacks. I mean, he had all the talent in the world going to LSU with Brian Kelly, and then everything that could go wrong certainly went wrong. And when we step back and look, when Coach and I were watching the tape, you could see where he kind of had some throws that just didn't look right. Well, it turns out he was not healthy most of the 2025 season. He missed some time, but even when he was playing, he had an abdominal injury, which really impacted his throwing motion and kind of limited what he could do. He shows up at the Senior Bowl and he absolutely balls out. Now, I'm going to play some clips from this past Senior Bowl, which just wrapped up last week. And really, I mean, in my opinion, it showed. You saw him come in there. You can see he's got that ability to make those off-platform throws. He's athletic enough to make things happen. Now, obviously, there's a pick there, but that's not his fault. I mean, we're watching these plays right here, and he's showing NFL talent with an NFL arm and mobility. The one thing that we can say about Fernando Mendoza, the QB1 of this class, his athleticism is limited. Whereas when we look at Nussmeier, his athleticism pops, especially if you go back to 2024 when he was healthy. You can really, really see it. He has the arm. He identifies blitzers. He's got the footwork. At times, he can be a little bit undisciplined in the pocket, which Mendoza excels at. But I think Nussmeier did himself a lot of favors by going to the Senior Bowl and competing with these other players, really finding a way to kind of showcase some of his athleticism, showcase his talents, his arm, really being able to identify coverages, identify blitzers, and make things happen. So I thought he did himself an absolute number by showing up to the combine. I'm curious to see, at the Senior Bowl, I'm curious to see what he'll do with the combine, what he'll run, if he'll end up throwing, or if he's going to save it for a pro day, because he's got a lot to gain. Because like I said, someone's going to draft one of these quarterbacks. I mean, we're just a year out from when Tyler Shuck was taken in the second round. He was a second and third round pick in Dynasty drafts. And what happened to his value? Absolutely skyrocketed. So I will repeatedly be the guy that will draft these quarterbacks if they get the draft capital. I mean, not just a couple of years ago, I was taking Michael Penix at the 206, taking Tyler Shuck at the 212. I will continue to do that because those guys will outproduce their costs, even if they're not necessarily that effective or don't even get to play. It's just the opportunity because everyone needs a quarterback in a Superflex league. So take advantage of that if you have the opportunity, because I think Garrett Nussmeier is the possible QB2. We've got a lot to digest, a lot to look into. Coach and I are planning on watching Sham Bliss's tape and getting a little bit more into that this week. So we'll probably talk about that or do a video on it, because these quarterbacks, someone is going to get an opportunity. We can talk about how it's a weak class. We can talk about how it's a weak quarterback year, but someone every single year is going to get the shot. And I think Garrett Nussmeier looks like a good bet to kind of get that opportunity this season. And to close out, let's talk about Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. The big fella, he is young, only 20 years old. Lots of growth for him to come. I mean, we saw this Oregon offense kind of evolve with him. Terrence Ferguson is another tight end that came out from this offense. So they've had the ability to produce the position, and I think he is going to be the next one to vault up. A lot of people have him inside of the top 15 NFL picks in the draft coming up. If you're in a super flex, that's a tight end premium, or even just a standard league, I think he's going to have the ability to be a first-round pick. And I think he's got the opportunity to really get higher than that too. I think I had him slotted in at the 109, maybe the 110 in my last draft that I did on the Superflex mock. But I think given the settings, given what he could do at the combine, we could see him shoot up into that 107 territory. We saw Loveland and Warren last year. He's not far off from those prospects, man. He's got a ton of athleticism. He's an uber athlete. He's got the physicality. He looks imposing. I mean, when we watch what he can do, I'll show you one of my favorite plays thus far from my film review. I still have more to go through for the tight end position, so lots more to come with him, Stowers, Jolly from NC State, other guys that we'll be talking about, I'm sure, in this offseason. But you see him stretch the seam here and just reach out and grab this. I mean, you can't ask for more from a tight end. Looking at this right here from this angle, you're going to get a great shot of what he can do. Just throw it up to him, let him use that frame, extend out there and grab it. He's got great hands. He's also a willing blocker. I was kind of impressed to see that. You guys know me. I love to see what happens in the trenches, and I was impressed with that. I think Sadiq is going to be interesting in what he could run in the combine. I think it could help him. I do think that Stowers is another guy that's going to get a lot more steam coming forward. You'll hear Coach talk about him as we get on our lives and get that going. But I do believe that Kenyon Sadiq right now, tight end 1, but that's not a hot take. That's kind of consensus, but it's well earned. I mean, he's got the frame, he's got the hands, he's got the ability to really make things happen. So I'm excited for what he can do and where he ends up going. If he finds a nice home and a pass-friendly offense, I know a lot of people are going to point to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to point to the Cincinnati Bengals, and that would be awesome because I think he'd be a great fit to help stretch the field and create a mismatch or a nightmare against some of these linebacker safeties or corners if you get him in the right position. Because, again, you can put him on the line, you can put him out wide, you can put him in the backfield. He's going to be very, very comfortable. So I'm excited to see Kenyon Sadiq going in the future. But that's going to do it for some of the best rookies in this Dynasty class. So be sure to stay tuned. Subscribe to the Face Off Sports Network. We've got all sorts of stuff coming out. We're going to get some mock drafts rolling here soon. Of course, as always, we're going to open that up to the public so you guys can join us, do some mock drafts with us. We're really, really excited for this offseason. It's the rookie period. There could not be any better time for Dynasty. But until then, we'll catch you in the next one.